Hey everyone, welcome back to Digital ELA Lot. My name is Miranda, and today we're going to be going over some grammar. In this lesson, we're going to review some grammar concepts that we taught you in class, and then go over a worksheet with a few grammar questions from a previous test. I mentioned this in the last video when we went over vocabulary, but just to review, here are the four main parts of speech that you're going to want to know. First, we have a noun, which is a person, place, or thing. For example, a dog would be a noun. Next, an adjective is a word that describes a noun. A blue dog. Blue is the adjective and dog is the noun. Next, we have a verb, which is an action or a state of being. For example, a blue dog cooked. Blue is the adjective, dog is the noun, and cooked is the verb. Finally, we have an adverb, which describes a verb. The blue dog cooked carefully, for example. Cooked is the verb and carefully is the adverb. Now, the most basic sentence structure only needs two parts: a subject, which is a noun, and a verb. A sentence must also be a complete thought. For example, Mark ran is a full sentence. Adverbs and adjectives can also be added, but they're not necessary. For example, Mark ran quickly. Quickly, in this case, would be the adverb. As you read sentences in the grammar section, you must identify who the subject in the sentence is and make sure that the subject is carrying out the verb. If the subject is not carrying out the verb, then it's a passive sentence. Avoid passive sentences. For example, the kids are running a marathon is an active sentence. The subject, kids, are carrying out the verbs are running. A marathon was run by the kids, on the other hand, is passive. The subject, the kids, aren't carrying out the verb was run. An independent clause is a complete sentence. This means it has a subject, a verb, and expresses a complete thought. A dependent clause, on the other hand, has both a subject and a verb, but doesn't express a complete thought, and thus it cannot stand alone. It's dependent on the independent clause. For example, an independent clause would be, I bought apple juice, because that expresses a complete thought. A dependent clause would be, when I went to the store. It does not express a complete thought. You could combine the two into a correct sentence. When I went to the store, I bought apple juice. You can combine independent and dependent clauses to create a complete sentence by using semicolons or conjunctions. Semicolons, which we'll go over later, combine two independent clauses. Subject-verb agreement is just making sure that the subject of a sentence matches up with the verbs. If the subject is singular, then the verb must also be singular. If the subject is plural, then the verb is plural. For example, the cat sleeps. The subject, cat, is singular. There's only one cat in this sentence. That means that the verb must also be singular. Sleeps is a singular verb. Singular verbs often end with S, while plural verbs often end without an S. Another example is the cat sleeps. In this example, there are multiple cats, so the verb has to be plural. Just like subject-verb agreement, verb-tense agreement is about parts of a sentence matching up with each other. All of the verbs in a sentence must be the same tense, past, present, or future. For example, the dog runs in the park, jumps in the sky, and chases the cat. All of the verbs in this sentence are present tense. The same thing in the past tense would be, the dog ran, jumped, and chased the cat. Commas and semicolons are kind of similar looking, but they follow different grammar rules. Let's go over them. Put commas after each element in a series. I went to the store to get apples, comma, bananas, comma, and oranges. Put commas in between non-essential or descriptive information. For example, I met John, comma, an accountant at the event. The phrase, an accountant, is a non-essential descriptive element about John. Next, put commas between adjectives. Mr. G is a smart, comma, kind, comma, and funny teacher. Put commas after introductory phrases, including transition words. For example, before coming to school, comma, I had to do all my homework. Commas can't separate two independent clauses. For example, this sentence is incorrect. I went to the store, comma, I bought apples. The main use of semicolon is to combine two complete sentences that are closely related. For example, I didn't finish my goals for the day, semicolon, I was super tired. Now we're going to go over the questions from the worksheet in our description. Make sure you answer the 4 questions before watching the rest of this video. Question 1 is this sentence. The Colosseum in Rome, Italy, which is considered one of the new 7 wonders of the world, is the largest amphitheater ever built and could hold more than 50,000 spectators. This is a comma question. We use the comma rule that says to put commas between non-essential descriptive information. Because of this rule, we must put commas before the descriptive phrase of Rome, Italy. Also, if we got rid of the phrase, which is considered one of the new 7 wonders of the world, the sentence would still be complete. Therefore, the answer is B. Insert a comma after Italy. Now, question 2 says, in September 2016, the National Museum of African American History and Culture opened up as part of the Smithsonian Institution. The museum is already the Smithsonian's 3rd most popular site. Experts say that they expect this newest Smithsonian facility to welcome nearly 4 million visitors a year. The museum features more than 30,000 objects, including Muhammad Ali's boxing gloves and a dress sewn by Rosa Parks. A commemorative copy of the Emancipation Proclamation, written in 1863 during the presidency of Abraham Lincoln, is also on display at the museum. For this question, let's remember what we went over earlier with independent clauses and commas. Remember, there cannot be 2 independent clauses connected with a comma, which is how the sentence is given to us in the question. Therefore, the easiest fix we can make to the problem regarding sentence structure is to change one of the independent clauses to a dependent clause. Choice E adds "and" to the second clause, which makes it dependent because it no longer expresses a complete thought. Therefore, the correct answer is E, institution and the. Now, question 3 says, to promote their club, a bake sale will be sponsored by members of the debate team on Wednesday. This question is about passive voice. Remember, we want active sentences, which means the subject has to perform the verb. The subject of this sentence, the members, needs to directly perform the verb, which in this case is sponsoring. But because we know this is happening on Wednesday in the future, the verb has to be will sponsor. These rules makes choice C correct. Now, for question 4. Devin spent several hours preparing for an upcoming audition to play at the community theater. First, he did vocal exercises to practice his diction and projection so that his words would carry clearly through the large auditorium. Then, he studies the text of the monologue to better understand the emotions and the motivations of the character he plans to portray. Finally, he recited his monologue in front of the mirror many times, making slight adjustments and improvements to his performance each time. We have to remember what we learned about verb-tense agreement from the previous slide. Not only do the verbs have to be consistent in a sentence, they have to be consistent throughout a paragraph. We have to read the entire paragraph to see that the verbs in all but one of the sentences were in past tense. For example, spent, did, recited. Only one of the verbs is in present tense, which is studies in sentence 3. Answer choice G changes studies into past tense, studied. Notice answer choice G also removes the unnecessary comma before "and" 2 things. Remember, commas are only necessary when listing more than 2 things. Therefore, choice G is correct.